Last Halloween, I was 32 years old. I had just moved to the city for a fresh start and was eager to dive into the Halloween parties everyone talked about. I didn't know too many people yet, but I was invited to a gathering at a friend's newly renovated house. It was buzzing with laughter and vibrant costumes. I still think about that night. At first, everything felt normal. I grabbed some snacks and tried to mingle. The living room was dim but cozy. Then I heard it. A loud argument coming from the hallway. I shouldn't have eavesdropped, but I did. I caught the tail end of it. Someone shouted about betrayal. My heart raced. The argument ended suddenly, like someone turned off a switch, but it left me feeling uneasy. That I moved to the kitchen, hoping to shake it off. People were laughing and chatting. But then, I noticed someone staring at me, a man I had spoken to earlier. He had been friendly, but now his face was twisted in a glare. My stomach sank. I looked away, but I felt his eyes on me, piercing. I took a sip of my drink, trying to calm down, but it didn't help. Was it just my imagination? Then, I heard laughter outside. It sounded like a group around a fire pit. But the laughter was chilling, like something out of a horror movie. Nobody else seemed to notice. I glanced around. Everyone was lost in their conversations. I felt goosebumps on my skin. Maybe it was just me getting used to the new neighborhood. The party continued, but my thoughts went back to that argument. It could have been friends just having a fight. But why did it echo in my head? I saw the man again. He was whispering to someone else while shooting glances my way. Cold sweat dripped down my back. I slipped out to the porch for fresh air. That's when I saw the group. The laughter was louder now, and I could hear bits of their conversation. They were talking about me. One of them pointed directly at me. My heart raced. I froze. One woman turned and said, "He'll find you." I blinked, trying to understand. Who would find me? A chill washed over me. Someone from the house called me back in. I turned around, and the laughter outside stopped instantly. The moment felt surreal. I walked back inside, confusion swirling in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As I passed the guests, I wondered if they felt it too. That I tried to enjoy the rest of the party, but it didn't work. The argument, the man's glare, and the laughter haunted me. As I left that night, I couldn't help but wonder about the events. What really happened during that party? I didn't know if I would ever find the answers. The days following the party were filled with unease. I tried to put it behind me, but that late Halloween night replayed in my mind like a loop. Every time I walked past that house, I felt a shiver. It loomed larger than life, a shadow of something I couldn't identify. After a few days, I decided to talk to a neighbor about the party. Her name was Lucy, and she appeared friendly enough when we passed each other in the hallway. I approached her one evening when she was taking out the trash. "Hey, did you go to that Halloween party at the Johnsons' place?" I asked, hoping to casually steer the conversation there. Her smile faltered, and I noticed her eyes darted away. "Oh, just a bunch of people having fun," she offered, her voice tight. My heart sank. It was clear she was holding back. "Yeah, but I thought it was strange." "Did you hear that argument?" "Someone was really upset," I pressed, her expression darkened. "I'd rather not talk about it," she said, almost too quickly. I sensed a fear behind her words. I pressed her for more, but she made excuses about needing to go inside. That I left feeling unsettled. Why were everyone's faces trembling under the surface? Was I reading too much into it? But the word betrayal echoed in my mind. It felt like a warning. That weekend, I decided to take a walk downtown to clear my head. The streets buzzed with kids in costumes, adults sipping drinks, and laughter filled the air. I forced myself to enjoy it, but shadows loomed. Everywhere I looked, I thought I saw the man from the party, his glare piercing through the crowd. My anxiety had transformed into a haunting paranoia. As I wandered into a coffee shop, my thoughts began to drift. I needed to escape the neighborhood's confusion. But then I caught sight of a familiar face through the window. It was the man. He was across the street, standing still, staring right at me. My heart raced, and panic surged as I quickly ducked behind a wall, peering cautiously. Several moments passed. Did he follow me? I decided to leave and took the back exit. Dodging customers, my heart thumped loudly in my chest. As I stepped outside, I saw someone approach the front of the shop. It was Lucy. She looked around, her eyes darting nervously, almost like she was searching for someone. Then, she pulled out her phone, typing furiously that I needed answers. Lucy. I called out, but my voice came out shaky. She turned, her eyes widened, and for a moment, recognition flashed across her face. But then she started backwards. You shouldn't be here, she whispered urgently, looking over her shoulder as if someone was watching. Why? What do you know? I pleaded, desperate for the truth. I can't say any more. Just, leave, she warned, her tone so serious it sent chills down my spine. And in that moment, the laughter from the crowd around me faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. Before I could respond, she turned and hurried away. It was completely out of the blue. Was I in danger? She felt it too. I was about to enter the coffee shop again when I noticed movement behind me. The man had crossed the street. He was headed straight for me. My gut twisted. I needed to get out. To escape. As I started to walk away, my thoughts raced. What would happen next? I had to figure this out before it was too late. I ducked around the corner, moving fast but silent. My legs felt heavy, and my mind raced over everything that had just happened. Why did Lucy act that way? And who was the man? Panic gripped me, but I had to stay calm. I couldn't let him catch me. I turned down a side street, hoping to lose him in the crowd. After a few blocks, I paused at a small park. It was empty and dark under the flickering streetlights. I took a deep breath and leaned against a cold metal bench. My eyes darted across the shadows. What if he was closer than I thought? I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling as I navigated to Lucy's number. I needed to reach her. She had to know what was going on. But when I pressed call, the screen lit up with a call failed message. Of course. My heart sank further. Could someone be blocking my calls? Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching. I held my breath, praying it wasn't him. It was a woman, dressed as a witch, her cackling laugh filling the night air. I relaxed a bit, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched. I slipped deeper into the shadows, close enough to see the crowd but out of the way. Then I noticed something on the ground. A piece of paper, crumpled and tossed aside. It had an address scrawled on it, a house about 10 blocks away, marked with a circle. I hesitated, wondering if it was a clue or just litter. But then again, what if it led me to answers? I looked up and saw the witch walking past, oblivious. I glanced around. No one was watching. I quickly picked up the paper, stuffing it into my pocket. I needed to know what it meant. As I was about to leave the park, I felt a chill run up my spine. That same primal instinct was back, warning me. I turned slowly, scanning the trees. Nothing seemed out of place, but the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Just then, I heard the soft crunch of leaves behind me. My heart hammered louder. I wasn't alone. I ducked behind a tree, holding my breath. Footsteps approached, slow and deliberate. The shadow loomed larger, and I peeked around the trunk. It wasn't the man, but another figure. This one was dressed as a ghost, the fabric draping in a way that obscured their face. Without thinking, I whispered, "Who are you?" They stopped. "You shouldn't be here," came a voice, muffled yet eerily familiar. My blood ran cold. It was Lucy. "Lucy," I whispered back, relieved. "I need to talk to you." But she shook her head vigorously. "You don't understand. It's not safe." Before I could ask more, she turned and took off into the night. I wanted to follow her, to plead with her to stay, but fear rooted me to the spot. Just as I tried to make sense of what had just happened, a sudden shout echoed from the road. I moved closer to the edge, peering out. Two men were arguing, one of them dangerously close to the edge of the streetlight. The other was pushed back, and I could have sworn I recognized that face, the man from the party. Adrenaline coursed through me. I had to know what was happening. I was bound to discover something, no matter how dangerous it might be. I had to confront whatever truth was waiting. Then everything went dark. The power went out, plunging the park into complete blackness. The sounds of laughter and shouting faded into an eerie silence. My heart raced. Now, I had no choice but to move forward into the unknown. I stood motionless in the darkness, my mind racing. The power had gone out, but I could still hear faint scuffles from the direction of the confrontation. Were they fighting still? I tried to focus, to piece together what I had just seen, but my thoughts were muddled. I felt so alone. With no other choice, I crept closer to the sounds. My heart beat in sync with each cautious step. I could hear low voices now, murmurs against the night's stillness. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but the tension felt palpable. Suddenly, one of the voices rose sharply. "You don't know what you're getting into," it yelled, a low but urgent tone that sent a shiver down my spine. I crouched behind a bush, straining to catch details. There was a moment of silence, a heavy pause. I could feel it in my bones that whatever was unfolding, it was about to get worse. Then, the unmistakable sound of a struggle, a thud, followed by heavy breathing. My instinct screamed at me to flee, but I couldn't pull away. Not now. Then, another figure appeared from the shadows. A flash of white against the darkness, the ghost outfit Lucy had been wearing. I couldn't see her face, but I recognized the way she moved. She was stepping carefully, almost as if she was trying to avoid drawing attention. "Stop!" she called out, her voice cutting through the tension. The two men froze. "Let him go." I squinted, trying to understand the scene. One man was still on the ground, while the other loomed over him, fists clenched. I couldn't see his face clearly, but something about his posture felt familiar, the same man I had seen at the party. "Stay out of this, Lucy," the man on the ground warned, pushing himself up. "You don't know what you're involved in." "I know exactly what I'm involved in." "You're not hurting anyone else," Lucy declared, her tone fierce yet laced with a tremor of fear. Then a shuffling noise came from my left. I turned my head just in time to see another person emerging from the shadows, a third man, taller, with an imposing build. I tried to slip further back, but I stumbled over a loose branch, which cracked loudly in the otherwise muted night. The three figures swung their heads in my direction, and my breath caught in my throat. The new arrival grinned, eyes gliding over me with an unsettling confidence. Well, well. What do we have here?" Panic surged, and I instinctively backed away, thinking of escape. Surely they wouldn't let me leave. I had stumbled into something dangerous. I slowly turned, feet dragging through leaves as I moved to slip back into the darkness, but Lucy called out again, louder this time. "No! Don't you dare run!" Before I could respond, the taller man surged forward, joining the two who were still debating. "We can't have witnesses," he said, eyes narrowing. My heart raced as the realization hit me. I had to get out of there, and fast. I darted behind a cluster of trees, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. Just as I thought I was hidden, I felt the overwhelming urge to glance back. That's when I saw a glint of something metallic in the moonlight. Was he carrying a knife? My stomach dropped. And just like that, the chase began. I sprinted into the trees, branches tugging at my clothes and skin. I could feel the weight of their stares lingering on my back. Heart racing, I ducked behind a thick trunk, trying to catch my breath and quiet my panicked thoughts. I pressed my ear against the rough bark, listening for any signs of movement. The voices had escalated again. "You think you can just walk away?" the tall man taunted. "You have no idea who you're messing with." There was a shuffle, then a muffled noise. Was that a grunt of pain? I felt nauseous, realizing the violence was real. My instincts shot adrenaline through my veins, pushing me to keep moving. But where could I go? I was lost in a forest, surrounded by men who probably wanted to hurt me. I glanced over my shoulder, risking a peek. Through the shadows, I spotted Lucy still standing her ground. She had a defiant stance, but the fear in her eyes was unmistakable. The man on the ground was on his knees now, seemingly weakened. But the other two were closing in, and I could see the knife glimmering in the tall man's grip. Something in me snapped. I couldn't just stand idly by. I wouldn't let them hurt Lucy or anyone else. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, then turned and bolted toward them again, fueled by desperate determination. "Get away from her!" I yelled, my voice trembling but loud enough to carry in the night. It was a foolish move. I felt the cold grip of fear wash over me again as they all turned to face me. "What?" the tall man shouted, disbelief morphing into anger. "Another pest?" Lucy's eyes widened with surprise. "No. Don't." I didn't wait to hear what she meant. I rushed forward, adrenaline pushing me onward. The man turned, raising the knife. I had only a split second to react. My body moved on instinct. I lunged at him, hoping to knock the weapon from his hand. But he sidestepped, and I stumbled past him, heart pounding. In that moment, chaos erupted. Lucy, taking advantage of my distraction, kicked the man on the ground, sending him tumbling backward. I turned just in time to see her feet fly. Maybe I wasn't the only one willing to act, but the tall man recovered quickly, his eyes filled with rage. He lunged at me, knife glinting in the faint light. I barely dodged, the blade grazing my arm and sending a sharp sting through my skin. I gasped, fueled by the surge of pain, and dashed further into the trees, every branch scratching at me like a reminder of how dangerously close I had come. Suddenly, a brilliant light cut through the darkness. I had crossed into a clearing, where a group of partygoers stood, their laughter and music piercing the tension around me. I slowed, scanning their faces. Did I dare shout for help? They couldn't see the danger lurking in the shadows behind me. The tall man and his cohort were coming, determined and angry. My mind raced. This wasn't over. Someone's in trouble. I shouted, my voice cracking. Panic crept back in as I turned to find them just steps away. Then I noticed something behind the group, a flashlight beam slicing through the night, illuminating their faces. I recognized a familiar figure among them, someone I thought I'd never see again. Before I could process it, the figure shouted, "Get back." And just like that, everything changed. The figure emerged from the shadows, flashlight in hand, and my heart flipped. It was Max. I hadn't seen him in ages, not since he moved to the city for college. "Max!" I yelled, relief flooding my voice. I hoped he would understand the urgency of the situation. "Stay back." He took a step forward, but it was clear he was also assessing the threat behind me. The tall man stumbled into the clearing, his face twisted in fury. "Max?" The tall man's voice dripped with venom. "Didn't he expect to see you here? I should have known you'd be hanging out with this loser. Get out of here." I shouted, heart racing. Max held his ground, but there was an uncertainty in his expression that scared me. "You don't want this," he warned, aiming the flashlight right at the man. It illuminated the glint of the knife, the air thickened with tension. The partygoers were frozen, some whispering, others unsure. I could see fear flickering in their eyes as they realized something was very wrong. I counted the other men beside the tall one. They were just as dangerous. "Lucy! Come here!" Max called, but she was still on the edge of the woods, locked in a standoff with the man she had kicked. She looked torn, caught between fighting and running. Just then, another figure emerged from the trees behind me, someone I didn't recognize. He was built like a muscle-bound brick wall, eyes darting between us and the two men with the knife. "What is going on?" he demanded, voice steady. The tall man sneered. "None of your business. You should walk away before this gets ugly." Max took a step toward me. "It's okay, Ivy, we're here. We can handle this." But the tall man chuckled, mocking. "You think you can just walk away? You have no idea what you're getting into." It was then that I heard something rustling behind the partygoers. My heart jumped. I turned, eyes scanning the tree line. Was there more danger lurking? The tall man's gaze shifted, and I saw his smirk falter for just a moment. "Let us move," he commanded, looking back at his friends. They hesitated, confused. My chest tightened. Perhaps they were reconsidering their choices. Maybe we could intimidate them a bit. Suddenly, the tension snapped. "Get down!" a voice shouted from the back of the gathering. Everyone ducked, confusion erupting into chaos. I instinctively dropped, heart racing. What was happening? The tall man and his gang tried to back off, but it was too late. Two more figures broke from the shadows, both armed, their faces masked. "Run!" Max yelled, but my legs felt heavy. I couldn't process the shift in the danger until it was right in front of me. Someone surged forward, engaging one of the masked men. I couldn't tell who it was, but their determination was palpable. I felt the energy swell, a weird mix of fear and fight bubbling within me. Then everything exploded into chaos. I hit the ground, my heart thudding in my chest. Around me, partygoers scrambled, shouts blending with panic. I willed myself to move, but my feet felt stuck in place. I needed to help Max. A loud crash echoed in the clearing, followed by a high-pitched scream. I looked up just in time to see the muscle-bound guy tackle one of the masked figures, knocking him to the ground. The masked man gasped, but the fight wasn't over. The other masked figure lunged forward, swinging a metal object that glinted in the dim light. "Get away from him!" Max shouted, now emboldened by the chaos. He charged forward, flashlight swinging like a weapon, but the tall man blocked his path, knife raised, a cruel grin on his face. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline rushing through me. I needed to do something. I glanced quickly at Lucy, who was still on the other side of the clearing. Her fierce look told me she wasn't backing down. Then, I noticed something shimmering on the ground near the confrontation. A glass bottle, likely forgotten earlier during the party. Gripping it tightly, I got ready to throw it. Maybe I could distract the tall man, just long enough for Max to get past. Suddenly, my thoughts were interrupted as someone roughly shoved me aside. A guy I didn't recognize, taller than Max and twice as broad, dashed past me. He seemed intent on joining the fight, shouting encouragement. "Let us take them down," he shouted, his voice booming over the chaos. I felt a glimmer of hope. More people were getting involved. Maybe we could turn this around, but then, I heard the deep, sinister laughter of the tall man echo through the clearing. "You think you can win this? You don't know us." He swung his knife dangerously close to Max's face, forcing him to stumble back. I felt a surge of rage and fear. That was my chance. I hurled the bottle at the tall man, not caring if I missed. I just needed him distracted. The bottle shattered against a tree, making a loud crash. The tall man's head snapped in the direction of the noise for a split second. That was enough of a distraction. Max seized the moment and lunged forward, shoving past the tall man. But then everything froze. A small figure emerged from the crowd, a girl no older than 10, clutching a teddy bear. Her wide eyes scanned the horror unfolding. The masked men immediately froze as fear settled in their expressions. "Kid! Get back!" Someone shouted, but it was too late. The tall man's gaze narrowed on her, rage morphing into shocking realization as if the presence of the child had changed the game altogether. I felt something tighten in my gut. This situation had just gone from bad to worse. What did he see? What could he want from her? A chill ran down my spine. That's when I saw the small glimmer around her neck. A pendant, shining like a beacon. The chaos faded, an unsettling silence hanging over us. Whatever this was, it was only just beginning. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick with tension. The little girl, oblivious to the danger, stood firm, clutching her teddy bear as if it could protect her. The tall man's eyes were locked on the pendant, a fierce hunger replacing the earlier rage. "Get back!" I shouted again, my voice barely rising above the murmurs of fear cascading through the crowd. But no one seemed to hear me. Panic swelled, faces contorted with indecision. Some partygoers backed away, while others glanced at each other, unsure of what to do. "Stay where you are," the tall man commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "I just want to have a little conversation with our new friend." He took a step toward the girl, a predatory smile stretching across his lips. In that moment, time stretched, and everything fell away. It was just me, the girl, and the masked man. My heart hammered in my chest. My instincts screamed at me to act, to protect her. What was this pendant? Why was it so important to him? I had to find out. Just then, Lucy broke through the crowd, pushing her way to my side. "We can't let him get to her," she said, her eyes darting from the girl to the tall man. I nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "But how? Who are you?" the girl asked. Her voice was steady, carrying an unexpected strength. It caught the tall man off guard. He hesitated, confusion flickering across his features. "That doesn't matter, sweetie," he replied, too smoothly. "What matters is that necklace of yours. Just hand it over and no one gets hurt." "Not going to happen." Max shouted, now standing beside us, his flashlight raised and ready. He had finally found his courage in the face of danger. The tall man's eyes flicked back to him, momentarily distracted. "Back off, kid," he warned, but it wasn't enough to break Max's newfound resolve. As he squared his shoulders, I glanced around, searching for anything that might help us. That's when I saw a branch, large and sturdy, lying at my feet. I picked it up, feeling the weight of it in my hands. It could be a weapon, but more importantly, it could be a tool for distraction. "Lucy!" I yelled, making a split-second decision. "When I say go, I need you to draw his attention." She nodded, understanding instantly. I steadied my grip on the branch and took a breath, the world narrowing to just that moment. "Go!" I shouted, and Lucy lunged forward, waving her arms wildly. The tall man turned, eyes reflecting annoyance as he focused on her. I saw my chance. I swung the branch with all my strength, aiming for his legs. It connected with a sharp thud, knocking him off balance, but instead of falling, he turned on me, fury etched across his face. "You think you're clever?" he hissed, his voice cold as ice. The moment stretched, and I realized I had just made him angrier. Before I could react, he lunged at me, knife glinting under the moonlight. Everything slipped away, replaced by the roar of fear in my ears. I staggered back, adrenaline surging. Just when I thought he would reach me, a new sound rang out. A piercing whistle sliced through the crowd. The unmistakable sound of sirens. Everyone froze, hope igniting. But it was too late. The tall man's eyes flared with rage as he turned to escape. That was his plan. "Run!" I yelled, shoving the girl forward, grabbing Max's arm. The clearing erupted into chaos again as partygoers scrambled, some pushing toward safety, while the masked figures began retreating. I heard Lucy calling, her voice nearly lost in the mayhem. "Where do we go?" "Anywhere but here," I shouted back. But as we sprinted into the darkened woods, I couldn't shake the image of the girl's pendant from my mind. Whatever was happening, it was only the beginning. The truth loomed just ahead, tangled in the shadows waiting for us. We ran deeper into the woods, fueled by adrenaline and the fear that the tall man was right on our heels. The trees loomed around us, branches scratching at our arms and faces like desperate fingers. I couldn't tell if the sirens were getting closer or if the sound was just echoing through the night. "Where's Lucy?" I gasped, turning to Max. He shook his head, panic growing in his eyes. "I don't know. She was right behind us. I knew we wouldn't last long without her." Lucy had the quick-thinking ability that often turned the tides in our favor. Pressing on, I pushed aside the branches that blocked our path. The little girl held tight to my side, her teddy bear bouncing in rhythm with her small steps. "Are we safe now?" she asked, her voice trembling. I forced a confident smile, though inside I was anything but certain. "Just a little further," I promised. "We'll find a good spot to hide." Suddenly, the darkness swallowed us faster. We stumbled upon a clearing where the moonlight broke through the canopy. I stopped, catching my breath, scanning the area for any signs of danger. It was eerily quiet, almost too quiet. "I don't like this," Max muttered. Just as I opened my mouth to reply, a low rustling caught my attention. I turned, ready to face whatever threat was out there. "Who's there?" A shaky voice pierced the silence. It was Lucy. She stepped into the clearing, breathless and wide-eyed. "I thought I lost you guys." Relief washed over me. "We're all here now," I said, exhaling deeply. But my relief was short-lived. A sudden movement behind Lucy sent my heart racing. The tall man had found us. "Quick, back!" I yelled, pushing the girl behind me as Lucy spun around, her shock evident when she saw him. "Stay away!" she shouted, raising her arms as if that could somehow fend him off. "Enough of this game," the tall man growled, unmasking himself with quick, deliberate movements. The sight sent chills down my spine. I recognized him not from just the party, but from news footage shown weeks prior. He was wanted for theft and worse. My stomach churned as I connected the dots. "What do you want?" I demanded, stepping forward despite the fear gnawing at me. "You think that pendant is worth all this trouble?" He laughed, but it wasn't a normal laugh, it was sharp and chaotic. "Oh, it's worth more than you can imagine. If you knew, you would hand it over without hesitation." His eyes glinted with malice. "Why?" I struggled to hold my ground. "What makes it so special?" He drew closer, the danger thickening the air around us. "You'll understand soon enough." He pointed toward the girl. "She's the key. And it's time to take her home." Before I could process his words, something inside me snapped. "Not a chance!" I shouted, my feet moving before my brain caught up. I launched myself toward him, aiming to push him away from the girl, but as I lunged, my foot caught on a root, and I stumbled hard into the dirt, the impact ringing through my body. "Run!" I screamed, my voice breaking as I fought to rise. Max grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her back toward the woods. Lucy reached for me, but I shook my head. "Go!" I insisted, desperate for them to escape. As they fled, I finally found my footing, heart racing as I watched the tall man loom over me, anger twisting his features. And then everything went dark, the moonlight blocked by the sudden weight of his shadow. I had to buy them time, but at what cost? I braced myself for impact, but instead of a blow, I heard a shout echoing through the trees. "Get down!" It was Max's voice, loud and commanding. I crouched instinctively just as an object surged overhead, a flashlight illuminating the clearing behind the tall man and casting shadows on the ground. "Sheriff! You're surrounded!" A stern voice boomed from the tree-line, followed by the heavy crunch of boots on leaves. My heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. The tall man turned his head, momentarily distracted. "What the hell?" Fury twisted his features as he scanned the darkness for the source of the disruption. Shouts erupted from the woods as several uniformed figures stepped into the clearing, and I caught a glimpse of Lucy and the girl darting behind me for cover. "Ivy! Move!" Lucy yelled, her eyes wide with panic. In that moment, the tall man lunged, knife gleaming in the flashlight's beam. My instincts kicked in, and I sprang to the side, narrowly avoiding his grasp. He stumbled, growling in frustration as he reeled backward, just as one of the deputies tackled him to the ground, pinning him with a heavy thud. The chaos that followed erupted like wildfire. The other officers rushed in, and suddenly it was no longer just our lives on the line, it was a full-on confrontation. Max and Lucy quickly ushered the girl behind a tree as officers restrained the tall man, shouting commands and calling for backup. He struggled and fought, each twist sending ripples of fear through me. This wasn't over yet. I knew that whatever he wanted, he wouldn't easily give up. Then the scene turned chaotic. More shouting erupted, and somewhere off in the distance, I could hear sirens racing closer. My heart was still racing from the adrenaline, but I felt a strange sense of safety crashing over me like waves against the shore. The tall man was losing control. The officers worked quickly, handcuffing him while other deputies began combing the area for the remaining masked figures. The little girl peeked out from behind the tree, her teddy bear clutched tightly. "Is it over?" she whispered, wide-eyed and trembling. "I think so," I replied, though doubt tinged my voice. I turned to Lucy and Max, who were watching the officers closely. "This was about that pendant. What did he mean?" Lucy looked puzzled, her brow furrowed. "I don't know, but we can't hang around. They want to ask us questions, but we need to make sure she's okay first." Suddenly, one of the deputies called out, "Is everyone all right?" My stomach churned with the unease of the night's events. I looked to the girl, then back at Lucy and Max. "Let us get out of here," I suggested, glancing over my shoulder at the tall man being loaded into a police car, wearing an expression of pure rage. Would he return? What about his other friends? A million questions flooded my mind, unshakable reminders of how close I'd come to losing everything tonight. As we began to move cautiously away, the glow of flashlights flickered around us, shining unsteadily. The shadows danced, and I caught bits of murmured conversations and shouts of commands from the officers. "Come on, just a little further," Max urged as we slipped into the safe cocoon of the surrounding trees. We walked in silence for a moment, but I couldn't shake the feeling of the tall man's dark gaze from my memory. What had driven his obsession? What power lay in that pendant? I looked down at the girl, taking her hand gently. "Let us keep moving," I encouraged, trying to sound brave. Though the sirens dimmed behind us, an underlying tension remained. The night had revealed shadows I hadn't anticipated, ones of betrayal, fear, and a darkness that loomed heavily over our fates. I still heard the haunting laughter reverberating in my mind, mingled with the memories of a once ordinary Halloween party. We made it to the edge of the woods, looking back one last time at the scene unraveling behind us. "What do you think will happen to him?" I asked softly, unsure if I was asking about the tall man or about the nights ahead of us. "I don't know," Max admitted, his voice low. "But it isn't over, is it?" Shivers ran down my spine. Even as the darkness began to recede and dawn threatened to break through the horizon, I knew we were just scratching the surface of something deeper. "I guess we need to find out what's really going on," I replied. And as we stepped further away from the chaos, I realized we hadn't fully escaped the shadows clinging to our tails. I looked at the girl beside me, her innocence shining against the night. There was so much I wanted to understand. The world felt heavy with the weight of unnerving questions, hovering ominously in the air as we headed back to our lives now forever altered by that fateful night. Somewhere in my heart, I sensed that it wasn't merely a Halloween party. It was the beginning of something that had been unleashed, and I knew I'd never feel entirely safe again.